Hello, students and parents at Mountain View and Los Altos. If you are tuning in right now, you're here for the senior panel. Um, Feel free to use the Q&A to ask some questions. We'll select a few towards the end, like we did with the alums, in order to ask those questions for everyone out loud. And then let's start off with our wonderful senior panelists. So if you could introduce yourself, the high school that you're currently at, and your current favorite class in high school. We'll go around and I'll call on each person to go next. So Precious, can you start us off?
Hi everyone, my name is Precious Nayarko. I attend Mountain View High School, and my favorite class I've ever taken would be AP European History my sophomore year.
Julia, you're next.
Hello, my name is Julia Top and I attend Los Altos High School, and my favorite class I've taken so far in high school would be AP Human Geography I took sophomore year.
Mateen, you're next.
My name is Mateen. I go to Mountain View High School, and I would say my favorite class would be tied between AP European History sophomore year and AP Calculus AB my junior year.
Kai, you're next.
Hello, everyone. I'm a senior at Los Altos High School, and my favorite class has to be multivariable calculus.
Woohoo, math. Excellent. Natalie, you're next.
Hi, my name is Natalie Armeda. And I would say my favorite class so far in high school is probably AP Environmental Science, and I took that my junior year.
Excellent. And you are joining us as a Mountain View student. Wonderful. So let's start off with question one. I'll tell which person to speak next. You are all second semester seniors. What do you wish you would have known or believed about the college process 1 year ago when you were in the 11th grade? So Julia, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, definitely. I think something I would really like to know would have been that I was going to get it all done. I know I'm starting off the process. I went into it thinking that I needed to get like a huge jump on it right when summer started, and just needed to get everything done. Like a lot of my friends, they were able to get like their common out of the way the summer between junior year and senior year, and a lot of them had written other apps. And in that summer between junior and senior year, I really didn't find it a right time for me personally just to write those essays. And so coming into the fall first semester of senior year, I definitely was worrying a lot about whether if I was going to get those done or not. And it's definitely stressful at that time, but it's definitely doable. And I think just not worrying about it too much, because you'll find in the moment that just worrying about it later on is going to cause a lot more stress than just knowing like right now I'm going to be able to get this done, and it'll be worth it in the end. Even like staying late after class and getting the help, like it'll be worth it in the end and you'll get them done.
Gotcha. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Excellent. Precious, you're next.
I'd say I wish I knew that like I'd have options of like schools to choose from. I was like really stressed that I was gonna like end up like nowhere, even though like I felt like I prepared myself. I was just like nervous since like of course it's like my first time applying to college. And so like my teachers and my mentors in Avid, they all told me like, Precious, it's gonna be fine, like you're doing great and like everything's gonna work out in the end. But I guess I wish I like really had the foundation to believe that a year ago, so that I wouldn't have been like as stressed as I was while waiting to hear back from schools, and while like applying, like during the whole process, I was kind of like freaking out.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that before you live it. That makes sense. Kai, you're next.
One thing I wish I had noticed kind of how hard the process would be. And I don't think anybody comes into it thinking it was easy. But like over the summer, I had done a bit, but I kind of underestimated how difficult it would be going into fall. So learning to keep yourself accountable, I'd say that's pretty important.
Makes sense. Mateen, on to you.
So personally, I wish I did more research on the specific colleges within the university and how it is for my major, right? So a lot of good schools may not like good titles for the schools, like good school names may not be the best for my major, right? And then building on to Julia, I started my essays in the summer and I couldn't start any earlier only because all my topics came from the summer. All the topics I wrote about, all the events that happened occurred in the summer. So that was super helpful. And then I'd say also I wish I applied to more safeties just because I didn't get into a lot of schools and I got lucky on one of the schools that I want to go to. So that's great. A lot of my friends who have like super high GPAs and stuff, they haven't gone into any of the Reed schools. And when I say any, I mean none of them. With a super high GPA, with a lot of extracurriculars, they didn't get into any of them. And a safety that you would go to is really good to apply to, right? And you shouldn't be stressed about this. Take time to like de-stress and everything. And only apply to the schools that really like suit you. So do that research and apply to the schools that suit you.
Thanks. Natalie.
All right, so kind of like Mateen, doing more research into finding which school fits like what you want to do. I feel like I just kind of applied everywhere and I was like, okay, well, I'll just see what works within that school without really looking into it. And then when it was kind of brought on to me, I was like, oh wait, what am I actually gonna do? So definitely doing more research. And for me, I'm also an avid student. So we actually started our essays in our junior year, during our junior year. And I really recommend that. I had friends who started it probably like a month before they like the UC essays were due. And they were stressing. I was over here just flying by as if nothing was happening. So I would definitely recommend starting them your junior year.
They take some time. Yeah. All right. Question 2. Did you apply to colleges that required essays? What insights do you want to share with younger students about writing essays and applications? What was your timeline? Any advice, resources, suggestions on to-dos or to avoid? So let's kind of go in reverse. So Mateen, if you want to kick us off with this one.
Yeah, sure. So I did apply to a lot of schools that required essays. The only schools I didn't that require essays were the CSU schools. Other than that, personally, again, all my essay topics happened during the summer. But I did start somewhat early and I didn't cram it till that last week because many people did cram it and they were really stressing, like, is it going to submit? Because don't forget, like, some of these applications won't submit that last minute because everyone's trying to submit it. So you really have to be cautious about that. And then one helpful tip was I sent all my essays to Miss Lowe. She sent them back in waves of different editing, right? So I'd say like I sent a first draft, then she would edit it, I would edit it, and then I'd send it back to her, right? So we did this like 4 or 5 times per essay. And I'd say that's like one of the only reasons like the essays turned out to be decent is because I had help from Miss Lowe. If you already have a college counselor, that's great. But I do seriously recommend Miss Lowe for someone who didn't have a college counselor, and that was me. And it turns out I didn't really need one because I had her to always help me.
Thanks, bud. Natalie, you're next.
So like I mentioned, I started my junior year writing my essays and I applied to only UCs. I wasn't really interested in going out of state because in-state tuition was what suited me the best. Because of that, I signed up really early for extracurriculars. I started my extracurriculars like volunteering and community service my freshman year, and I've continued to work on them throughout my high school journey. And then the UC essay topics are always the same, and they're available on their website year round. Sometimes they'll change them up, but they'll like let you know about that. And I mostly just volunteered with kids. Super fun, super easy, and really enjoyable.
Thanks, Natalie. Kai, you're next.
So I also applied to schools that had essays, and I really agree with what Mateen was saying. One of my biggest pieces of advice is reaching out for help. And definitely, the College Career Center is like one of the best places you can go. And if you're at Los Altos, Mr. Jack, which is the librarian, also helped me out a ton. And that's something that I can only be grateful for. So one, like learn to ask for help, know that there's people there to support you. You can get your essays read. They can help you search for colleges, basically any step in the process. The other thing was kind of like a piece of a resource that I found really useful is a person called the College Essay Guy, and he has a website. He has YouTube videos, and basically, if you have any essay you need to write, he'll kind of give you a really good jumping off point. That's kind of his thing, and so I definitely recommend that. And then, yeah, the last thing is, again, do not do them early. Over the winter break, I actually got sick, and that definitely impacted my ability to get some of those final essays done. And so, you don't know what's going to happen. You might get sick. Something might happen. So it is pretty important to get this stuff done.
Excellent. Julia.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Mateen and Kai about reaching out for help. I did apply to a lot of schools that required essays. I would say brainstorming multiple ideas for the essays and being open to changes. I remember one of my UC essays, I like completely changed the topic of it, like I think a week or two before I submitted it. And I was really scared about it, but it turned out to be actually one of like the best essays I wrote out of the four that was highly reviewed through people who were like reading it. And I also did turn them in a couple weeks earlier. I said like these sites can crash and it can like be a little alarming when you're not sure if they've turned in or not. But as Kai said, like using your resources as like in for Los Altos, Mr. Jack and Mr. Rand were huge helps. I seriously would not be where I am without them both. Mr. Rand really did was such a great influence on my life with counseling, making sure she read through all of my essays. And she's just like a great resource to go to if you need help, especially on the Los Altos campus. She's always open to having anyone check your essays. And I didn't have a personal college counselor to help me. And I really didn't need one at the end of the day. She was really helpful. I think also if you have like a certain story you definitely want to talk about, for me, that was something I knew I had a specific going into these. I knew what I wanted to talk about. I think just not overthinking that too much and being open to other ideas, like a lot of parts of yourself will surprise you that a lot of people might want to hear about.
Thanks, Julia. Precious.
I would say I started like brainstorming my essays. I think that's the first step. Like it seems like really overwhelming to start like writing your essays, but what I did was I like looked at the Common App website because I applied to some private schools, and I just like copied and pasted all the questions, and I did the same thing for the UCs. And I just like spent like one day going through like each prompt and just like brainstorming potential like events that I could talk about for the essays, at least just to like start somewhere, and then like eliminate ones where I was like, I don't really see myself like writing about this essay. And that really helped me like narrow it down for like UCs, which four I wanted to choose. And then for the Common App, like which one I felt like was best. But just like everyone has been saying, like, don't wait till last minute. I probably did my first brainstorm maybe like sophomore year, but like they weren't like full drafts, just like ideas. And then I'm an avid, just like Natalie. So we started working on our UC essays junior year, which was really helpful. And then, yeah, towards like the deadlines, I definitely like spent some time in Miss Lowe's room, like asking her to like cut down some words, or like definitely like set up appointments if you can. Like I spent some time like with Miss Felipe trying to figure out like how to make an essay better. So don't wait till the last minute. And don't burn yourself out. Like if you have like 5 essays due and you haven't started on any of them and they're due like next week, you're not gonna produce like great work. So like take your time. Even if you start over the summer, just start. Like don't keep thinking about not starting because you're not like doing anything with that. But yeah, I'm glad I started early so that I wasn't stressing last minute.
Yeah. So it seems like there is like a bit of a spectrum for when people did and didn't start. It does seem like a common A common anecdote is the earlier would have been better. And like you were mentioning, Precious, right? It can just be really hard to just get started. So doing a workshop in the College and Career Center, setting a date with friends when you're going to just meet and only do essays, something that like kind of holds you accountable, that's like an event, can kind of help. Next question. How did you approach the college search? How did you connect with colleges or schools, and any tips or recommendations on your college search? So Kai, let's start with you.
So I think the first place I started for my college search was definitely my family. I think that was kind of the first place I went, and also like reaching out to friends. I know that this is probably something you're gonna do anyway. But chances are, your friends have similar interests. So if they have a good idea on a university, that's probably somewhere that's gonna fit you as well. Other than that, again, the College Career Center is here to help you out. So during the summer, I actually reached out to one of the college counselors, and we were kind of be able to build out a list based on my interests. And then once I got that list, I could kind of go through each of those websites, see if they were actually things I could see if they had specific things that I was interested in, programs that I wanted, kind of where they fell in like safeties versus reach schools. And so, yeah, definitely reach out to a college, the College Career Center, if you're having trouble with that.
Thanks. Natalie, you're next.
Okay, so I said that approaching the college search, I was really looking into what fit my financial aid and like what my parents could contribute. Also kind of like estimating, oh, this is what I could get in scholarships, FAFSA, adding all that in, putting that all into account, and kind of like what the average GPA was for the schools that I was applying to, because I didn't want to apply to schools that were like 2.0 average GPAs when I was like way above that, or schools that were like 4.0 average and I wasn't quite there. I also really looked into the social life and like the support that you have from the school, because that's definitely important. And you want to make sure that you have the resources that you might need in order to succeed. And then also the class sizes, because for me personally, I don't want to go to a school where the class size is 200 plus people. I'd rather find a school that's maybe like 40 to 30 people, including a teacher. And then I would also recommend to find a school that appeals to you, and don't just apply to schools that your friends are going to or that you feel pressured into going to, because not every school is right for every person. It's definitely just random towards everybody and how you are.
Yeah, what's right for your friend or for your brother or sister isn't necessarily going to match what's best for you. Excellent. Mateen, you're next.
So I like how Natalie touched on all of those characteristics. I'm gonna dive deeper into after that. So let's start for the before. I knew nothing when it came to how to start this whole college thing. And again, my search started with Miss Lowe. I didn't even talk to my parents first. I had no idea. I don't think they did either, because my dad went to school like 40 years ago, so it was way beyond his time. And my mom was also clueless. I'm pretty sure this is where she started joining all these Zooms. So all my questions went to Miss Lowe. Naviance was also another helpful tool. A lot of students don't use Naviance until like maybe junior year, hopefully senior year. Everything college, all descriptions, everything about a college is on Naviance. You can find it there. A lot of the school websites, specific university websites, are also helpful to research about, just like what Natalie mentioned, class sizes, student population, all that. Ms. Lowe also mentioned to visit a private school local in your area. For example, St. Mary's is one that's close here. And then another one, UC Davis, which is not too far as well. So one private, one public, just to get an actual feel of what college may suit you the best. And then you can also just get started ahead on all the research. And I think that's super helpful, because you don't want to cram everything at the end, right? All the essays, all the research. You really want to start this ahead. So I think those are the best tips.
Excellent. College chores. Precious, your turn.
I definitely used Naviance. I think I was just like bored freshman year. And so I low-key started looking at colleges freshman year, just like because they have the super match option. Like if you haven't used Naviance and you're watching this, like you definitely should, because like it literally has like every school, and you can like use the super match feature where you're just able to talk, not really talk about, but like input what you want from a school. Like, oh, I want my school to be this size. Oh, I want them to have this club. I want them to have this major. Like, and it has like every like characteristic of a school. And so you're really able to nail down like which schools in the US have like what you're looking for. And like of course my preferences changed like each year. Like I wanted to go to like a super small school freshman year. I think I even wanted to be like out of state, and like I only applied to schools in state, so it definitely changed. But at least I was able to like learn about schools and like figure out what I like and what I didn't like. So definitely use Naviance. um but I would also say like some schools that I applied to, I didn't like fully research, like especially like the CSUs, because I was able to like get a fee waiver. So I was just like, let me just pick some schools and apply to them. And then like as like admissions were coming out, I was like, oh, I didn't know that school was hard to get into, or oh, I didn't know the school was really big. I mean, because in my head, I didn't really want to go to them, but I was like, let me just apply anyways. But taking time to just like research the schools you're applying to, I feel like is important, because like you might have to end up going to them if anything happens. So you might as well just like learn more about them.
Love every college on your list. Yes. And Julia, you last.
Yeah. So going to the process, I definitely didn't really know much about schools. I knew going in, I had like a dream school I wanted to go to that my mom and I were talking about for a bit, just maybe like junior year, we found out about it. And I had like maybe one or two UCs that I knew. But that was pretty much it. I think I was a little late to it, but like I think I completed my Common App and I only had like three schools I knew I was applying to, and like the rest I had no idea where I was, what I wanted to do with them. But I definitely used the College and Career Center specifically for LHS. I used Ms. Price, and she really helped me come up with like an entire list of a lot more schools that I could apply to, and ones that I was pretty excited to write to and just like excited to apply. I think also we touched upon about like when choosing schools, like definitely there's a lot of like variety that goes into it, like bigger campus, diversity, student ratio, like they're all important. But personally for me, the most important thing was diversity. So I definitely looked at that the most, and wanted to make sure I was going to a school that I felt welcome to, and like coming from the Bay Area where we're have a big pool of international students and people from all different backgrounds. I knew I didn't want to shy away from that, so I made sure that that was on the top of my list, and that was one thing I made sure that all of my colleges were pretty diverse that I was applying to.
Excellent. Yes. Diversity in college choices is helpful as long as they match your preferences. I totally agree. All right. Next question. You might still be deciding about where you're going next fall, about where you're headed next. So how are you feeling about your next steps, your college option? If you feel like sharing where you're heading, feel free. And yeah, let us know where you think you're going to and how you're feeling about it. So Precious, let's start off with you.
Sorry, I almost like interrupted, but I was like, I could just add it in afterwards. I wanted to say about the last question, definitely like attend the information sessions that colleges have. I think they're super helpful. Like I'm gonna commit to Loyola Marymount University, and like it like settled in for me that I wanted to go there when I attended like an information session. And I was like, this, like I already feel like a part of the community, even though the people on the Zoom are literally people who are like thinking about applying. But it just felt like such a nice community, because the admissions director was just like able to just make it feel like nice and welcoming, even though it's such a stressful process. So I would recommend doing that. But back to your original question, yeah, I'm going to LMU, and it was like a school that I actually really wanted to go to. So I'm glad I got in. And right now I'm just trying to fight off senioritis every day and finish the year strong.
All right, Julia, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so right now I'm deciding between San Diego State University and University of British Columbia. Um, University of British Columbia is actually my top school, my dream school that I got into. So I was really excited about that. I'm just trying to figure out the financial situation with the two and just to see which one would give me more aid and just to make sure I can afford it. I'm really excited about my choices. Waiting to hear back from a couple of different schools, but those right now are my top two. And it's exciting to know that just waiting to hear back and know that I'm deciding where I get to go.
Those are two amazing options. Natalie, what are you thinking?
Okay, so right now I'm debating between Sonoma State University, which is probably gonna be my pick, just because best financial aid package that suits me and my family's income. Um, and I feel like I'm ready for the next step. I feel like I've mentally prepared myself and I have the support of family, friends, and even teachers, and even people like Miss Lowe who are like always here to answer any questions that I have. Or if I need any support, she's always open to helping me with any questions or advice that I need. But just knowing that this is a big leap since I'm first generation into my future, it's honestly pretty exciting for me. And I'm ready to see what the future holds for me.
It's so exciting. Kai, what are you thinking?
So I also don't know exactly where. Right now thinking between UC Santa Barbara and UIUC, which is in Illinois. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to decide whether you want to go out of state or state in California. So not really sure about that. As for how you feeling prepared, I don't know. I'm kind of trying to like live in not knowing what's going to happen next and just like letting it flow. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a crazy thing to say.
And that's okay. You still have more time and many options. So just give yourself time. You got this. Mateen.
So, if we remember, we were talking about all the applications and the UCs and how they required so many essays, and I spent so much time on them. Turns out I'm not going to go to any of those schools that I applied to, and I'm going to end up going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. That school didn't require a single essay. It was like a 30-minute application at its max. It only really took your GPA to look at. And I personally think I got lucky getting into that school. But I'm pretty happy with it. I like the social life there, right? Socially, having a school that's like big on social life is something that's big for me. And having a good business school, because that's what I want to major in, I think that's also a good thing for me. I haven't visited it yet, but it is important to visit the schools that you get into. So a top one and top two choice, you want to definitely go out and visit them either during your spring break or honestly take time out of like a weekend and go look. It's really important. Don't go into a school you haven't seen before. So I'm going to do that as well. I just think these schools are a gamble on if you get in or not. As much as you write a perfect essay, something on that maybe admissions officer today won't like you. Honestly, I was scared and I ended up being happy. So I think I did well.
It does, you are giving up an element of control in the college admissions process. That is definitely the case. And the key to making this process, right, kind of go the way that it went for you. Many of you have smiles across your faces and have really good options, is applying to a diverse set of colleges that are all not hyper selective, that are somewhat selective, and then others that are very open and accept a majority of the students who apply there. That's the key. So I'm going to kind of review a bunch of the things that you guys said. And if you have any words of wisdom that you would like to share, we just didn't have a ton of time for questions in the chat. I'm sorry. But So I'm going to go around, and if there's anything you didn't talk about, seniors, you'll have your chance in a moment. So a lot of you were sharing really wonderful insights about how the college process went this year when it came to researching and doing this process better. It seemed like researching more about like your major or the college within a university with something, really learning to like pace yourself and understand that this is going to be a process and you can't just finish a college essay in one weekend, was something that was also highlighted. Using different research tools, reaching out to the College and Career Center was highlighted, which is very generous of you. Thank you. And also, right, Naviance is a great tool to help supplement that. One of the ones that I recommend is the FIS Guide. It also seems like a lot of people really in this process highlighted people who were their support structures. For some people, that was their family. For some people, that was a teacher. For some people, it was a college counselor. It can depend. It seemed like when it came to the college process that students did sometimes focus on particular factors. Sometimes it was going to be more about attending a college information session that was really helpful, or maybe like, right, those college rep visits where different college representatives come and visit our campus. And yeah, you guys just had wonderful insights. And thank you so much for sharing your experience. Before we go, does anyone want to share just any insight that they haven't mentioned from this year with our parents and students this evening?
Just good luck. Start early. Get everything done. Don't cram it in. Do your research. Ask for help.
There we go. Excellent. Anyone else? It seems like we're feeling pretty good. I know I'm getting tired. But thank you, seniors, so much for taking time off of your night of homework, of work, of various things. And we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Francis. Thanks.